Picture this: the faint hum of a lawnmower in the distance, the smell of freshly cut grass sneaking through an open window, and me, sitting at my cluttered desk, staring at a half-finished design project that just won't come together. That's where I find myself most days, lost in my own little world. I'm Lisa, 44 years old, and I've been navigating life's twists and turns with my husband Mark for 18 years now. We've carved out a steady existence in a sleepy suburban pocket just outside Chicago, where the streets are lined with identical houses and the biggest excitement is the annual block party. Mark, who's 46, is the kind of guy who'd give you the shirt off his back. He's a sales manager, always on the phone closing deals, but come Saturday, he's glued to the TV with a beer in hand, cheering on his favorite teams with a grin that still melts me sometimes. I juggle freelance graphic design work part-time, which lets me set my own hours, but often leaves me rattling around our quiet house, craving a bit more connection. Mark's got his crew, though, and at the heart of it is Ryan, his best friend since their college days. Ryan's 45, single, and runs a small auto repair shop on the edge of town. He's got this infectious energy, a booming laugh that fills any room, and a way of making everyone feel like they've known him forever. He and Mark are thick as thieves, always swapping stories about their reckless younger years over a couple of cold ones. I can't help but smile when I hear them reliving some wild night from decades ago, even if I've heard. So here I am, pulling up to Ryan's modest split-level home just as the clock hits 6 p.m. The evening air is crisp, carrying the faint scent of fall leaves as I step out of the car with Mark. Ryan's waiting at the door, his wide grin practically glowing under the porch light, decked out in a faded Bears jersey that's seen better days. He claps Mark on the shoulder and waves me in with a hearty welcome, his voice booming with that familiar warmth. Inside, the living room is all set for game night. A big flat-screen TV dominates the wall, a worn-out leather couch sits front and center, and a coffee table is already cluttered with bowls of chips and dip, some of the salsa spilling over the edge. The place feels lived in, cozy in a messy sort of way, like a second home. As we settle in, the smell of grilled burgers drifts from the kitchen, tempting my senses. Ryan's practically bouncing with pride as he drags us out back to show off his shiny new grill, the metal gleaming under the patio lights. He's flipping patties like a pro, the sizzle and smoke filling the air while he brags about getting it on a killer deal. Back inside, Mark and Ryan grab beers from a cooler tucked by the couch, popping the caps with a satisfying hiss. Their laughter erupts almost instantly, echoing through the room as they dive into a heated debate about player stats and who's got the edge this season. I can't keep up with their jargon, so I sink into a lumpy armchair with a glass of soda, the fizz tickling my nose as I take a sip. I'm a bit of an outsider in this football frenzy, and the night stretches on, the game finally wrapping up by 11:30 p.m. with our team clinching the win. The TV screen flickers with post-game analysis, but Mark and Ryan aren't ready to wind down. They've moved on from beers to something stronger, pulling out a dusty bottle of whiskey from a cabinet to toast the victory. I'm still nursing my soda, the glass now warm in my hand, feeling more and more like I don't quite fit into this rowdy aftermath. Their voices grow louder, slurring over each other as they retell old stories with sloppy enthusiasm, laughing at punchlines I don't catch. The room feels heavier now, the air thick with the sharp tang of alcohol mixed with the lingering staleness of spilled chips and dip. It's suffocating, and I shift uncomfortably in my seat, wishing for a breath of fresh air. By midnight, Mark is done for. He's slumped back on the couch, his head tilted awkwardly to the side, mumbling something I can't make out before he's out cold, snoring in a soft, rhythmic drone. I let out a quiet sigh, familiar with this scene after so many late nights like this. Figuring it's time to start wrapping up, I stand and begin collecting the scattered empty cans and crumpled napkins, hoping we'll head home soon. The clatter of aluminum in my hands is the only sound, besides Mark's snoring as I make my way to the kitchen sink to rinse out a sticky glass. That's when I notice Ryan. He's still awake, perched on the edge of an armchair, his eyes glassy but sharp, watching me with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. I try to focus on the running water, but I hear the creak of the floor as he stands, his steps uneven but deliberate. He sways a little as he reaches the counter, leaning against it just a bit too close for comfort. His voice cuts through the quiet, low and teasing, as he says he's always admired how I handle Mark's antics. There's a playful lilt to his words, but something darker lurks underneath, something that knots my stomach tight. Before I can move away, It's 1:30 a.m., and I'm standing in Ryan's kitchen, the cold water from the faucet splashing against my face, dripping down my chin as I try to wash away the weight of what just happened. My hands are trembling, gripping the edge of the sink like it's the only thing keeping me upright. The reality of my actions crashes over me like a tidal wave, relentless and suffocating. I can't breathe right. My chest feels like it's caving in under the shame. How could I let this happen? How could I betray Mark, the man who's been my rock for nearly 2 decades, over a fleeting moment of weakness? I'm disgusted with myself, staring into the drain as if it could swallow up this guilt, this horrible mistake. Loneliness crept in tonight, whispering lies about needing something more, and I listened. I let it pull me into a moment I can't take back. A stolen closeness with Ryan that burned everything I've built to ashes. Through the kitchen window, I see Ryan on the back porch, casually lighting a cigarette, as if the world hasn't just shifted under our feet. The orange glow of the ember flickers in the dark, and he exhales a cloud of smoke, acting like what transpired between us was nothing monumental. My stomach churns watching him, so detached while I'm unraveling. I glance toward the living room where Mark is still sprawled on the couch, snoring softly, completely unaware of the betrayal that unfolded just steps away from him. His face looks so peaceful, so trusting, and it twists the knife deeper. What if he wakes up and senses something's off? What if he looks into my eyes and sees the truth I'm barely holding together? My chest tightens, a vice of guilt squeezing until I can hardly draw a breath. I dry my face with a rough dish towel, the scratchy fabric grounding me for a second, and quietly slip back into the living room. I perch on the edge of the armchair, my legs shaky, unable to sit fully as if staying poised might keep me from falling apart. The muted TV flickers with late-night infomercials, some guy hawking a blender with "It's 6 a.m., and the pale light of dawn creeps through the blinds of Ryan's living room, casting long shadows across the mess of last night. I've been sitting in this armchair for hours, my body stiff and aching, unable to find even a moment of rest. Mark stirs on the couch across from me, sitting up slowly, his hair a tangled mess as he squints in my direction with bleary, bloodshot eyes. His voice comes out rough, groggy from sleep and too much whiskey, as he mumbles, "Hey, why do you look so pale? You okay?" My heart lurches into my throat, but I force a smile, the corners of my mouth trembling as I try to keep it together. "Just didn't sleep well on this chair." I lie, my voice cracking like thin ice underfoot. I pray he doesn't hear the strain, doesn't see the way my hands shake as I fold them in my lap, or notice how I can't quite meet his gaze. Every muscle in my body is wound tight, braced for him to pick up on something, anything, that might betray the storm raging inside me. For now, though, he seems to accept my excuse, stretching with a groan and rubbing his temples. "Man, my head's killing me," he mutters, shuffling off toward the bathroom with heavy steps, leaving me alone again in this suffocating space. The silence that follows is deafening, pressing down on me like a physical weight. My mind spirals out of control, spinning through worst-case scenarios that play on a relentless loop. What if Ryan lets something slip, even by accident? What if Mark finds out later, piecing together some offhand comment or lingering look? The thought makes my chest constrict, my breath shallow and sharp. I can't sit still any longer. I need to move, to do something to keep from drowning in this panic. I stand and start packing up our cooler, my movements jerky and rushed, desperate to get out of this house before the fragile threads holding me together snap completely. Each clink of a bottle, each rustle of a bag, feels amplified in the quiet, like it's broadcasting. It's been a week since that night at Ryan's house, and I'm still trapped in the echo of what I did. I'm sitting here in my kitchen, the morning light spilling over the counter, a cup of coffee growing cold in my hands. I can't shake it. The memory of that fleeting, forbidden moment with Ryan clings to me like a shadow I can't outrun. It's a weight that presses down on every breath, every thought, every second I spend pretending everything's fine. I look at Mark across the breakfast table, watching him scroll through his phone, oblivious to the storm inside me, and I feel like I'm drowning in my own deceit. I've been overcompensating, trying to bury the guilt under layers of forced normalcy. I've cooked his favorite meals every night this week. Lasagna, steak with garlic mash, anything to keep my hands busy and my mind off the truth. But even as I set the plates down with a smile, my heart races with paranoia. What if he sees through me? What if one wrong word, one shaky glance, unravels everything? I haven't heard a word from Ryan since we left his place that morning, except for one text a couple of days ago. It was short, vague, just saying, "Hope you're good." I stared at it for a full minute, my thumb hovering over the screen, before I deleted it like it was evidence that could burn me. I couldn't risk Mark seeing it, couldn't risk even the smallest crack in this fragile facade I'm holding up. But erasing the message didn't erase the memory. It's there every time I close my eyes, every time the house goes quiet. The nights are the worst. I lie in bed next to Mark, staring at the ceiling while he sleeps peacefully beside me, his steady breathing a cruel contrast to the chaos in my head. I keep asking myself, should I tell him? Should I confess and risk shattering our life, losing the man I've built everything with? Or do I bury this secret so deep it can never surface, even if it means living a lie forever? The questions loop endlessly, with no answers, just a GN. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.